Hey everyone, Wayne Unger back for the next episode of our Election 2020 series. Today's conversation is going to be about disinformation, fake news, false information being perpetuated on the internet, how it's enabled by our lack of data privacy protections in this country, and how it leads to the erosion of democracy. Wow, that's a lot. I've been studying this topic for about 6 to 8 months now, and I sit on a research group called the Disinformation Working Group here at ASU, or Arizona State University, where we look deeply at disinformation campaigns across the world by both foreign and domestic actors. Now, I'm working on a research paper which I hope to have released very shortly, but long story short is the United States is under attack. Russia, China, Iran, other foreign states, even domestic actors like President Trump himself, which I'll talk about here in a second, have attacked and continue to attack the United States. However, the attacks are not to capture land or resources like traditional warfare, but rather these foreign actors are attacking democracy itself. Right? The warfare doesn't involve warships, bombs, or missiles anymore. Rather, the warfare involves computers, the internet, social media, and fake information. Now, disinformation, just to be clear, is the purposeful dissemination of false information online intended to mislead or harm. Misinformation, on the other hand, is the inadvertent dissemination of false information. But this isn't new. Disinformation is not new as a concept. It certainly has metastasized and mutated given technology and specifically social media platforms. As a Pew Research study recently showed, the vast majority of Americans get the majority of their news via social media platforms, and there's a problem with that. I think that has caused the polarization and the divisiveness that we see as a country these days, and I'll get to that here in a second. But just to give you an example of the history of disinformation, it actually dates back to ancient Rome. But more specifically and more modern, we have seen disinformation campaigns. So for example, the Soviet Union perpetuated a disinformation campaign run by the KGB during the HIV and AIDS epidemic that tried to place blame on the United States for HIV as a bioweapon. This is very similar to what the United States has actually been doing and other countries have been doing to place blame on China. Conspiracy theory that COVID-19 was a bioweapon released by the Chinese government. Again, debunked, not true. We also saw this in 2016 with the presidential election and the disinformation campaigns that were released by China, right? Just blatantly false information or even slightly false information that lead to incorrect inferences that a reader may have on that information. Now, how is this enabled? Well, if you look at the way in which algorithms are designed, algorithms on social media such as Facebook and Twitter are designed to keep you engaged, right? They're designed to invoke some sort of emotional reaction. And controversial information, often false or misleading information, does invoke that emotion. This goes back to basic psychology, which I'm not going to get into for this video because it's a little too complicated. But long story short is when disinformation campaigns are perpetuated, it leads to the erosion of democracy because democracy itself is dependent on independent thinking and personal autonomy. And so when independent thinking for the governed to elect their governors, we must be informed. We must be informed about what's going on. This is why we have the First Amendment. The freedom of the press is so that it's a check against government and authority and power. It's so that the citizens, the voters, can be informed about what's truly going on. So we have disinformation campaigns today, such as the massive fraud with mail-in voting, that's simply not true. It erodes our trust and in the integrity of the election. That's a problem. So how do we solve this? Well, one, we need more robust data privacy protections in this country so that social media platforms can't build these personal profiles about us that perpetuate the curated content that they put in front of us, which again is designed to invoke an emotional reaction because it's in their financial interest to keep user engagement very high on their platforms, right? Facebook makes $5 to $6 billion a month from advertisers, and the way in which they make that money is because Facebook promises the advertisers that their ads are going to go in front of X number of people with certain interests. They build that information based off the data that they collect on us. So how do we handle disinformation campaigns? Well, we can't necessarily regulate the content itself for a plethora of reasons, one of them being the First Amendment and the freedom of speech. Instead, we have to regulate what enables the disinformation campaigns, which is the data privacy of personal information. So that's all I'm going to say for this video. But ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, like I said, I've been researching this for 6 to 8 months now. I have a lot of research in this. Feel free to ask me, but know the issues. Question your sources on where you're getting information as well as online. Maybe look off of social media and look at actual news and journalism websites, truly reputable ones that have been in existence for decades, that go back to print and maybe even the printing press. And don't necessarily believe everything that you read on social media because, like I said, by design, it's not necessarily true. So until then, have a good weekend, everybody.